The cargo ship Starlight Runner drifted quietly through the endless dark. Its silver hull reflected faint light from distant stars. Inside, the crew of 7 humans worked in calm silence. They had traveled this route many times before. To them, this stretch of space was routine, boring, and safe. But tonight, space was not safe. Far away, hidden in the shadows of a dead asteroid belt, alien ships waited. Their hulls were black and sharp like knives, almost invisible against the void. Engines hummed with a low, menacing sound. The aliens had been tracking Starlight Runner for hours. They whispered in their strange, guttural language, certain that humans would never sense them. "This will be easy," hissed one of the alien commanders. "Humans are weak, soft creatures. They will not even fight." Inside the Starlight Runner, the crew carried on with their routine. Captain Elias sat in the command chair, sipping cold coffee and reading through the ship's cargo logs. Engineer Mara was in the engine room, humming a song as she checked coolant levels. 2 younger crew members, twins Jace and Lyra, played cards in the lounge, joking about who would win this time. Everything felt normal. Too normal. Then the first sign appeared. The ship's sensors gave a faint beep. Just one, soft and short, like a whisper. The captain frowned. "What was that?" he asked, leaning forward. On the main screen, small dots flickered at the edge of detection range. They looked like shadows, almost not there. "Probably just debris," said Mara over the comm. "Old asteroid rocks." But the dots grew closer, slowly, patiently. The captain narrowed his eyes. Something was wrong. His instinct told him danger was near, but there was nothing solid yet, no proof. He stayed silent, not wanting to alarm the crew. In the darkness beyond the ship, the alien fleet adjusted course. They moved like hunters, surrounding their prey without sound. Each ship carried weapons strong enough to cut the human vessel in half. They had done this many times before, raiding weak species, stealing their resources, enslaving survivors. Humans, they believed, would be no different. Suddenly, the Starlight Runner's lights flickered. Just for a second, the hum of the engine skipped, like a heartbeat missing a beat. Everyone felt it. "What was that?" Lyra asked nervously, looking up from her cards. Jace tried to laugh it off. "Relax, power grid probably just hiccuped." But Mara's voice came through the comm again, sharp and tense. "Captain, I don't like this. The engines are fine. That flicker wasn't us. Something external is interfering." The captain's face hardened. His fingers tightened on the armrest. He turned to the main screen again, watching the shadows grow larger. He could not yet see what they were, but he knew. Something was out there. Then the ship's alarm blared. A loud, piercing sound filled every corner. The computer voice spoke in its calm, cold tone. "Warning. Multiple unknown contacts approaching. Distance closing fast." The crew froze. Lyra dropped her cards. Jace's smile disappeared. Mara cursed under her breath. Everyone rushed to their stations, hearts racing. On the screen, the shadows became shapes. Long black warships. Their edges glowed faintly with alien energy. They came in from every side, cutting off all escape routes. The captain whispered almost to himself, "It's an ambush." The aliens, confident and cruel, activated their weapons. Bright green lights glowed on their hulls. They did not speak to the humans. They did not give warnings. To them, this was not a battle. It was a slaughter. A blinding flash ripped through the void. Energy beams struck the Starlight Runner, shaking it violently. Consoles sparked. The crew fell to the floor as alarms screamed. The engines went dark. The ship was dead in space. Silence followed. A heavy silence, broken only by the hiss of smoke and the groans of metal. The crew scrambled up, coughing, panicked but alive. "They disabled us," Mara shouted. "Engines are offline, weapons unresponsive. We can't move." The captain's jaw tightened. He had seen this before. In war reports, in whispers from other travelers. Pirates, raiders, or worse. But this felt different. Too precise. Too coordinated. These were not random raiders. On the screen, the alien ships began to move again. This time, smaller vessels detached from the main fleet. Boarding craft. They headed straight for the Starlight Runner. The captain's stomach turned cold. "They're coming inside," he said softly. The crew looked at him with wide eyes. Fear spread across their faces. They knew what boarding meant. Capture, death, or slavery. But the captain stood tall. His eyes burned with quiet fire. He looked at his crew, his family, and he made a choice. "They think we are weak," he said. They think we will not fight. They are wrong. The ship shook again as the alien boarding craft latched onto the hull with sharp metallic claws. The sound echoed through the corridors like monsters scratching at the walls. Inside the alien ships, the invaders prepared their weapons. Blades, plasma rifles, chains. They laughed in their guttural language, certain of their easy victory. But they had made a mistake, a big mistake, because tonight, for the first time, they would learn what it truly meant when humans fought back. The claws of the alien boarding craft tore into the hull of the Starlight Runner. Metal screeched as sparks lit the dark corridors. Every crew member froze at the sound. It was like a predator digging into the bones of its prey. In the command deck, Captain Elias's eyes stayed fixed on the flashing red lights of the warning panel. "They're inside," he said, his voice low but steady. "Stay ready." The crew's hearts pounded. Jace gripped a wrench in his hands. His sister Lyra held a pipe she had pulled from a maintenance closet. These were not real weapons, but they were all the humans had. On the other side of the airlock, the aliens prepared for their entrance. They stood tall and armored, their black skin gleaming under the dim lights of their ship. Their eyes glowed faint green, cold and merciless. Each one carried weapons of strange design, curved blades that hummed with energy, and rifles that pulsed with glowing power. To them, this was routine. The lead alien commander sneered. "Do not waste time. Take prisoners if you wish, but kill any who resist," the door hissed. With a violent blast, the airlock burst open. The aliens stormed inside. The humans ducked as the first blasts of plasma tore across the corridor. The walls melted and sparked, smoke filling the air. The aliens moved with precision, spreading through the ship in squads. Their heavy boots echoed on the metal floor as they advanced. Captain Elias whispered into his comm, "They want us scared. They want us broken. Don't give them that. Hold your ground." Mara crouched by the engine room door, sweat dripping down her face. She had rigged a small trap, a makeshift charge connected to the ship's coolant pipes. As soon as the aliens entered, she slammed her hand on the trigger. A burst of freezing vapor exploded outward. The aliens hissed in surprise as ice spread over their armor. Their glowing eyes flickered in shock. Mara didn't wait. She swung a heavy tool and cracked one across the head. The alien fell with a dull thud, unmoving. Her heart raced. She had just taken down something that looked unstoppable, but more were coming. In the lounge, Jace and Lyra hid behind overturned tables as the aliens entered, their weapons raised. The twins exchanged a glance. Jace mouthed. Now together they flipped the table and charged. Jace swung his wrench, smashing it into the alien's rifle. Sparks flew as the weapon broke. Lyra stabbed her pipe into the alien's side, hitting a weak spot in its armor. The alien roared in pain and stumbled back, but another alien rushed in, towering over them. Its blade hummed with deadly light. Jace pushed his sister aside, just as the blade slashed down, cutting deep into the floor where she had been. The twins scrambled back, hearts racing. The alien commander stepped forward through the smoke, his voice sharp with anger. "Pathetic resistance," he growled. "End this quickly." But the humans refused to give up. Captain Elias had moved to the armory. The ship had no heavy weapons, only emergency supplies, flares, gas tanks, cutting torches. But Elias's mind was working fast. Humans had always been good at using what little they had. He loaded a flare gun and waited by the corner. When two aliens stepped through, their rifles ready, he fired. The flare struck one alien in the face, burning bright and blinding. The creature screamed as fire spread across its helmet. Elias shoved the second alien back with all his strength, slamming the hatch door shut and locking it. His chest heaved. His hands shook. But there was no time to rest. More alarms blared. The aliens were spreading through every deck. In the engine room, Mara's comm crackled. Elias's voice came through, steady but grim. "They're stronger but not smarter. Slow them down. Make them bleed for every step." The aliens regrouped. They had not expected resistance. "Not like this," one soldier spoke in their harsh tongue. "Why do they fight? They are only cargo." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Because they are human. Kill them all." And so the real attack began. Explosions rocked the ship as aliens fired into walls and doors, trying to corner the crew. The humans scattered, hiding in vents, crawling through maintenance shafts, striking when least expected. Every ambush by the humans slowed the invaders, but every counterattack by the aliens was brutal. Smoke choked the corridors. Sparks rained from broken panels. The ship felt alive, groaning under the weight of battle. At one point, Jace and Lyra crawled through a vent, their breathing ragged. Below them, they could see the aliens marching. Lyra whispered, "We can't beat them all." Jace whispered back, "We don't have to. We just have to survive." The aliens, however, believed survival was impossible for the humans. To them, this fight was already won. But with each step, with each surprise strike, their confidence began to crack. By the time the aliens reached the command deck, 3 of their soldiers had fallen. The commander snarled, furious that such a small crew had managed to fight back. Captain Elias stood waiting, holding nothing but a flare gun and a steel rod. Smoke swirled behind him, sparks flickering around his face. He looked calm, defiant. "You thought this would be easy," he said. His voice was steady, carrying across the wrecked room. "You thought humans don't fight?" The alien commander raised his weapon, his glowing eyes narrowing. "You will die." Elias lifted his chin. "Maybe, but not without showing you what it means to face us." The air grew tense, silent. Every second stretched long, heavy with danger, and then, with a roar, the aliens charged again. The aliens thought the fight was almost over. Their leader's glowing eyes scanned the ruined corridors of the Starlight Runner. Humans were scattered, bleeding, tired. The ship was broken, but humans were not finished. In the vents, the walls, the shadows of the ship, the crew prepared something the aliens had never seen before. They were not trained soldiers, not warriors, but humans had always been something else. Clever, stubborn, unpredictable. Captain Elias whispered over the comm. His voice was calm, even though blood ran down the side of his face. "They want to hunt us. Fine, let's turn this ship into a trap." Mara wiped sweat from her forehead. Her hands moving quickly across the engine controls, she rerouted power to the old gravity stabilizers. With a few keystrokes, she created small zones of shifting gravity inside the corridors. One section pulled everything to the ceiling, another dragged sideways like a magnet. "Ready," she whispered. The twins, Jace and Lyra, had rigged the cargo bay. They stacked metal crates, tied wires across pathways, and placed gas tanks where aliens would never expect. It looked chaotic, but it was a hunter's maze, built to confuse and slow. When the aliens advanced, everything changed. The first squad entered a corridor and suddenly found themselves pulled toward the ceiling. Their heavy boots slammed against the metal roof. Weapons slipped from their claws. Before they could recover, Mara hit another switch. Gravity snapped back. They crashed to the floor in a heap of armor and pain. From the shadows, Jace appeared with a grin. He rolled a small gas canister across the floor and fired his makeshift flare gun. The explosion shook the corridor. Fire roared and the aliens screamed as heat consumed them. "Not so easy now, is it?" Jace muttered. Elsewhere, Lyra waited behind the stacked crates in the cargo bay. As the aliens pushed inside, the maze slowed them. Their glowing eyes darted left and right, confused. That was when Lyra pulled a rope, releasing the top crate. It crashed down onto the nearest alien with a bone-crushing impact. The rest roared in anger, firing wildly at the shadows. But the twins were already gone, slipping into the vents again like ghosts. The alien commander growled in frustration. This was not how raids went. Prey was supposed to scream, "Run, surrender." Not fight like this, not hunt back. He slammed his claw against the wall. "Find them! Crush them!" But the more they searched, the worse it became. Every hallway held another human trick. A sparking wire trap here, a false door there, a sudden gas leak that blinded them. Mara's voice came over the comm again, whispering to her captain. "They don't understand this ship, but we do. Every pipe, every hatch, every circuit, it's ours. And we'll use it." In the command deck, Elias smiled grimly. He knew the truth. Humans had never been the strongest species in the galaxy, but they had always been survivors. Against predators, storms, and impossible odds, humans adapted. That was their weapon. The aliens advanced again, storming toward the engine room. Mara crouched low, waiting. Her trap was set. She had overloaded the coolant pipes with pressure. As the aliens stepped inside, she slammed the emergency valve shut. A deafening hiss filled the room. Frost exploded outward, covering the aliens in ice. Their armor cracked, their weapons froze. Mara didn't wait. She grabbed a steel bar and swung hard. One alien fell, then another. Her arms ached, but she kept swinging. When the last one collapsed, she stood over them, breathing hard. For the first time, she saw it in their glowing eyes. Not arrogance, not cruelty. Fear. In the cargo bay, the twins felt the same shift. The aliens fought harder, but their movements grew nervous, uncertain. Each human counterattack cut deeper into their pride. The alien commander roared in anger, but even he knew something had changed. He gathered his soldiers in the main corridor. Enough tricks. Burn them out. He raised his blade, signaling for a final push, but Captain Elias had been waiting for this moment. He stepped from the shadows, a steel rod in one hand, a flare gun in the other. His voice carried through the smoke and fire of the ruined ship. You thought you were hunters, but you are prey now. And with those words, the crew launched their boldest move yet. Mara triggered the emergency bulkheads, slamming heavy doors behind the aliens, trapping them. The twins lit makeshift explosives from scavenged fuel cells. The ship shook violently as the blast ripped through the corridor. When the smoke cleared, several aliens were down. The rest staggered, wounded and shocked. The commander stared, his eyes wide with fury and disbelief. Impossible, he hissed. They were supposed to be weak. Captain Elias stood tall, battered but unbroken. Weak? You don't know humans at all. The humans had turned the ambush around. For the first time, the aliens were not the hunters. They were the hunted, and the battle for the Starlight Runner was only beginning. The corridors of the Starlight Runner burned with smoke and fire. Sparks rained from shattered panels. Alarms screamed, and the air was thick with the smell of scorched metal. The alien raiders had expected an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves bleeding. Cornered and confused, for the first time, the hunters felt the cold bite of fear. Captain Elias stood near the shattered command deck, his clothes torn, blood across his cheek. But his eyes burned with determination. They thought they could break us, he muttered. Now we break them. Mara's voice crackled through the comm. I've sealed off 3 corridors. They're trapped in the lower decks. We can push them back. The twins, Jace and Lyra, crouched in a vent above the cargo bay. Jace grinned through the sweat on his face. We've got them chasing shadows. Lyra nodded, gripping her pipe tighter. They're scared. I can feel it. Down below, the alien squad regrouped around their commander. Their armor was scorched, their weapons dented. 3 of their soldiers lay dead in the hall behind them. The commander's eyes glowed with rage, but deep inside, unease had begun to spread. This should not be possible, one alien hissed. They are untrained. They are weak, another growled. But the commander's voice wavered as he replied, Then why do they not fall? The humans struck again. Without warning, Mara overloaded the gravity stabilizers. The corridor tilted violently, sending the aliens stumbling sideways into the wall. At that moment, Jace dropped from the vent above, landing hard on one alien's back. He drove his wrench down with all his strength, cracking armor. Lyra followed, swinging her pipe into another alien's faceplate. Sparks flew as the creature staggered back, roaring in pain. The aliens fired wildly, but the humans moved fast, using the narrow space to their advantage. Smoke blinded the aliens, while the humans, small, agile, desperate, slipped through it like shadows. When the dust settled, 2 more aliens lay dead. The rest fell back, growling in disbelief. Captain Elias met Mara in the engine room. She was pale, exhausted, but her eyes were fierce. They don't know this ship like we do, she said. Every hallway is ours. Every hatch, every pipe. We can use it all. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. Good. Then we make this ship their grave. The alien commander felt his control slipping. He snarled, slamming his claw against the wall. Enough of these games, he roared. We crush them now. But his soldiers hesitated. For the first time, they did not look certain. They looked shaken. The humans sensed it. Jace and Lyra darted through the vents, laughing breathlessly between gasps of fear. Did you see his face? Jace whispered after their last strike. They're scared of us. Lyra grinned, blood on her lip. Good, let them feel it. In the command deck, Elias set another plan in motion. Mara, reroute life support, he ordered. She blinked. Captain, that will drop oxygen levels across the ship. Even for us. Humans can handle it for a while, Elias said. Let's see if they can. Mara hesitated, then flipped the switches. Slowly, the ship's air thinned. The humans coughed but stayed steady. The aliens, however, began to wheeze. Their armor wasn't designed for thin oxygen. Their movements slowed. Their aim faltered. The humans pressed the advantage. In the lower deck, Lyra lured an alien squad into a narrow maintenance tunnel. She ducked out at the last second. When the aliens stepped inside, Jay slammed the hatch shut and flooded the tunnel with engine exhaust. Their screams echoed as the toxic smoke filled their lungs. Elsewhere, Elias and Mara ambushed another squad near the medbay. With torches, steel rods, and traps, they tore through the surprised raiders. By the end, 2 more aliens lay broken on the floor. The tide had turned. From 7 fragile humans against a full alien strike team, the numbers had shifted. The aliens had lost nearly half their force. Their commander's fury turned to disbelief. "This cannot be," he whispered to himself. His claws trembled. His glowing eyes darted to his remaining soldiers. For the first time in his life, he saw doubt in them. "They fight like demons," one alien muttered. "No," the commander growled, his voice cracking with frustration. "They fight like humans." On the comm, Elias gathered his crew. His voice was calm, steady, proud. "Listen, they thought we were weak. They thought we were easy prey. But tonight we show them the truth. Tonight humanity stands." The crew cheered, their tired voices fierce with fire. The battle was far from over. The aliens still had weapons, strength, numbers. But something had changed. The easy ambush had become a nightmare. The hunters were bleeding, and the prey had become predators. In the silence that followed, the alien commander realized a terrible truth. If this was only one human cargo ship, with no real weapons, and they fought like this, what would happen if the galaxy faced all of humanity? For the first time, he felt something alien to him. Not hunger, not rage fear. The corridors of the Starlight Runner were almost unrecognizable. Sparks flew from broken panels, smoke filled the air, and the acrid smell of burned metal stung the crew's noses. The ship had become a battlefield, every room a trap, every hallway a challenge. Captain Elias wiped blood from his forehead. His eyes scanned the deck, locking onto the alien commander at the far end. The creature was massive, towering, and terrifying. Its glowing eyes burned with fury and disbelief. "You've made a mistake, human," the alien growled, raising its plasma blade. "No creature as weak as you could ever win." Elias tightened his grip on the steel rod in one hand and the flare gun in the other. "You thought this was easy," he said calmly. "You thought we would surrender. You were wrong," the commander roared and charged. Each step shook the floor, sparks flying from the panels beneath him. His soldiers stayed back, wounded and terrified, while the commander focused solely on Elias. The captain darted left, then right, using the twisted hallways to confuse his massive opponent. Sparks showered around him as alien energy blasts tore into the walls. Every human reflex mattered. Every move could be life or death. The commander swung his blade. It cut a deep groove in the metal floor, inches from Elias's foot. The heat from the weapon seared the air. Elias ducked, rolled, and fired a flare at the alien's chest. The bright light startled the creature, blinding it briefly. Using that moment, Elias slammed the rod against the alien's knee joint, the only weak point he had noticed from earlier skirmishes. The alien stumbled but recovered quickly, roaring in rage. In the background, Mara worked furiously at the engine controls. "Elias, I've rigged the bulkheads. I can lock him in if you lure him to the right corridor." She yelled over the comm. Elias's eyes flicked to the panels ahead. He nodded subtly, baiting the commander. He sprinted down the corridor, letting the alien follow, luring him toward the trap. The giant creature did not hesitate. Its arrogance made it reckless. The humans had used every advantage of their ship. Gravity shifts, smoke, and narrow hallways slowed the alien commander. The flare gun's bright bursts kept his vision off balance. Every strike from Elias was calculated to weaken, not just injure. When they reached the narrowest corridor, Elias ducked behind a bulkhead. The alien swung its blade wildly, tearing through metal, but its momentum was now its weakness. Mara triggered the bulkhead, and the massive doors slammed shut, trapping the alien inside a narrow section. The creature howled in rage, slamming its fists against the reinforced walls. Sparks flew. Its glowing eyes scanned the narrow space. Too big, too strong, too trapped. It had underestimated humans. Elias stepped forward cautiously, flare gun raised. "It's over," he said quietly, voice steady. "You underestimated us. That was your mistake," the alien roared, a sound that shook the walls. Its clawed hands tried to smash through the bulkheads, but the humans had engineered the trap perfectly. The creature was cornered, unable to use its strength fully, forced to fight within the limits humans had set. Outside, Jace and Lyra watched from the vents. "He's trapped," Lyra whispered, fists clenched. "We did it," Jace nodded. "Don't celebrate yet. One move wrong and he could break out." The alien commander's chest heaved. Its pride, fury, and disbelief boiled together. Humans fight. Too much. It hissed through clenched teeth. Elias kept calm. He knew he could not kill it. He had no proper weapons. But he didn't need to. Trapping it, showing the commander that humans could outthink brute strength, was enough. The creature understood. Humans were not simple prey. Mara joined Elias, placing a hand on the console to keep the doors sealed. Sweat dripped down her face. "He's not going anywhere," she said, voice trembling but proud. The alien commander sank to its knees, growling in frustration. Its pride was broken. Its soldiers had fled or fallen. And the humans, battered and tired, stood tall. Elias looked at the creature and said firmly, "We may not be the strongest in the galaxy, but we are humans. We survive, we fight. And we win when it counts." The commander's glowing eyes dimmed slightly, a flicker of fear entering them for the first time. It had learned something terrifying, that humans could resist, adapt, and overcome. The crew cheered quietly, cautiously, but confidently. They had survived. They had fought back. They had turned an ambush into victory. Yet the battle had shown something bigger. Humans were dangerous not just because of strength or weapons, but because of mind, courage, and unity. Elias wiped his blood-streaked face and whispered to his crew, "This is only the beginning. The galaxy has taken notice, and they will never see us the same way again." The alien commander let out one final growl, defeated, and collapsed to the floor. The humans had won the battle. But the war was far from over. The Starlight Runner floated silently in the dark, battered but alive. The stars outside seemed brighter now, as if acknowledging the courage of its small human crew. Tonight, humans had fought back. Tonight, humans had proved that even in the darkest corner of space, even against the fiercest predators, they would survive, and they would not be underestimated again. The Starlight Runner floated in silence. Smoke curled from broken panels, and the acrid smell of burned metal lingered in every corner. Outside, the stars twinkled coldly, indifferent to the small victories of humans below. Captain Elias sat in the command chair, exhausted, bruised, and bloodied. His hands shook slightly, but his eyes were sharp, alert, and proud. Around him, the crew of 7 slowly gathered, checking each other for injuries. Mara limped into the command deck, wiping soot from her face. "I can't believe it," she said, voice shaking. We actually did it." Lyra smiled weakly, looking out the observation window. "They thought we were weak. They thought it would be easy, and they were wrong." Jace nudged her playfully despite the grime and fatigue. Wrong is an understatement. They're going back to tell everyone what humans can do, and they won't forget it. Indeed, that thought weighed heavily on Captain Elias. The alien commander had fallen, and the surviving aliens had fled, shocked and humiliated. But the humans knew this was not the end. The raid was only one attack, one small test. The galaxy had noticed humanity now. Mara leaned against the console, still catching her breath. "We survived because we worked together, because we adapted, and because we didn't give up." Elias nodded. "Humans survive. Humans fight. And when we fight, we win." That's what they will remember. Outside, sensors blinked weakly. The alien ships that had remained intact were retreating fast, disappearing into the darkness. The humans had won the battle, but the larger war, or at least the looming threat, was far from over. Jace and Lyra checked the rest of the cargo bay, making sure nothing important was damaged. "We saved most of the supplies," Jace said. "We'll live to fight another day." The captain's eyes drifted to the stars beyond the hull. The emptiness of space seemed less frightening now. They had faced the impossible and survived. And somehow, in the midst of fear and chaos, they had learned something essential. Humans were not merely fragile creatures in a galaxy filled with predators. Humans were clever, adaptive, and relentless. They had won not by brute strength alone, but by courage, intelligence, and unity. The crew gathered in the small lounge, nursing cuts and bruises. There was quiet laughter, soft words of encouragement and cautious relief. For a brief moment, the terror of the ambush felt like a memory already fading. But the captain knew better. "The galaxy knows about us now," he said, voice low but firm. "And some of them won't like what they've learned." Mara nodded. They'll come back. Maybe bigger, stronger. But we'll be ready. Elias allowed himself a small, grim smile. Yes, and next time we won't just survive. We'll show them exactly what it means to face humanity. A soft alarm went off, minor damage alerts from the ship's systems, but it felt almost peaceful compared to the chaos that had raged hours before. The crew worked quickly, patching panels, repairing power lines, and restoring the ship's engines. As the Starlight Runner slowly moved back into open space, the captain gave one last look to the stars. We're just a small crew on a small ship, he whispered. But tonight we became legends in the eyes of those who would hunt us. The twins peeked out the observation window again. Do you think they'll come back? Lyra asked.